guys, how are you doing? How's your Monday going? Well, it's Monday for me. So how's your day going? So I had so my mom was away for 9 days in Mexico and we didn't really talk. So today we had a really long chat, an hour. We talked for an hour. So we caught up and we discussed everything and we kind of filled our time that we missed during the time that she was away. And I think we even talked longer than that because I called her another time. So that was nice. I had a nice, relaxing coffee while I chatted with her. So it was really nice. Yes. So, and I want to talk about if you are thinking a thought, something like he doesn't care. Usually people don't feel good, right? When you think that someone else doesn't care, you don't like that, right? You want them to care. So you might have a fight about that. You might have a fight building up. You might have resentment. It's a thought that does not help you connect with your husband or your son or whoever. And so I just coached a client on this today. So I want to really share this with you so you can also get your coaching, okay? Consider this, you getting coaching on this thought. So first, we have to really straighten out what are the facts, right? What actually is going on before you have a thought, he doesn't care. So it could be something like, he looks at a phone, right? You can have a thought, he doesn't care. It could be something like him not asking a question and you think he doesn't care. It could be him not calling. It could be him saying something, anything, could be anything, and you could think he doesn't care. The point I'm trying to make is that whatever happens, whatever he does, is very separate from your thought, he doesn't care. Two totally separate things, okay? There's something that happens that he does, completely factual, neutral, does not mean anything until you have a thought about it, and the thought is he doesn't care, okay? Even if all your girlfriends agree and everyone agrees that, yeah, him doing that means he doesn't care, I still want you to realize that these two things are separate things. One thing is your thought about what he did, and the other thing is actually what he did, right? Because he actually could care and do that thing, but you still can have a thought, he doesn't care, right? So let's just assume that you and I both agree that you have a thought, he doesn't care, and it is totally separate from what he does. It could be anything. These guys get in trouble even without them doing anything, right? You agree sometimes, right? They're like, I didn't even do anything, and why are you mad at me, right? So whatever he did is separate. And then you have a thought, he doesn't care, okay? So that thought, that sentence in your head happens. And then that sentence, if you believe it, creates a feeling for you, right? What is that feeling that you have when you think he doesn't care? It could be something like dissatisfied, disappointed, unhappy, maybe sad, whatever flavor of bad you have, that's the feeling that you have, yeah? So just to reestablish, so we have him doing something, then you tell yourself something about what he did. You say you think he doesn't care. Then that thought creates a feeling for you. Let's say it's disappointed. And then how do you talk or not talk? How do you show up with him, whoever it is, your son or your husband or a person? How do you show up with him when you feel disappointed because you're thinking that he doesn't care? My bet is that in that moment, when you're thinking he doesn't care, you withdraw, you close off, you shut down. You don't say much. You maybe walk away. You maybe don't call. You maybe don't text. You close off, right? You do not communicate. Or you don't look at him, right? So from that feeling, you don't connect with him. And so what happens is that when you act that way towards him, when you're doing that and you're not saying anything to him that you want to say, right? when you're doing that, you are actually not caring about him when you're thinking that. See how you did that with your actions? When you think he doesn't care, you feel disappointed. You shut down from him. And by doing that, in that moment, you're acting as if you don't care. Do you see how that just totally flips back on you? Because if you did care in that moment, right? If you're like, oh, I care about him so much, you would reach out, you would talk, you would do text, you would call, right? But because you withdraw, your action says, I don't care. Because in general, you do care, right? But when you're thinking that thought has you acting as if you don't care. And this is why I am so fascinated by this, because whatever we're thinking that he does, we are actually end up doing it ourselves. It's so weird, but that's how it always is. Whatever is our thought, he doesn't care. That means we're acting in a way that we don't care in that moment, right? I'm not saying you never care. I'm not actually saying that. I'm saying that in that moment, when you're believing that, you're acting and feeling like you don't care. You're shutting down. So that's the result that you create for yourself with that sentence, you don't care. And when you withdraw from him, when you close off, when you shut down from him, that creates disconnection, right? You've just created a disconnection from him, but not because of what he said or did or didn't do, because of that thought that you had. It only happened because of that thought. He doesn't care. And so once we realize that, we can then have the ability to choose again. We can choose, if I want to connect with him, then when I think he doesn't care, then I'm not connecting with him. Then maybe I can choose a different thought, right? So it's not because of him that I'm withdrawing. It's actually because of my thought, okay? So then you have the power to choose. Then you can also stay mad for a while, right? I highly recommend you stay mad for a while. You stay withdrawn as much as you need. Get it out of your system, do it, shut down, and then come back to your options. My options are, I can connect with him, not because of him, but because of what I'm choosing to think. And I'm choosing to think something that makes me feel connected with him. For example, if you are thinking he doesn't care, then your one option could be to switch to thought like, ooh, I wonder why he did that. Right? You could be curious, like, that's interesting. It seems to me like he doesn't care, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out. Maybe he did that because of some other reason. Maybe it's not because he doesn't care. Maybe it's because he needed to check his phone for an urgent message, right? Maybe, right? So that's when we can open up our mind to other options and actually find out, why did you not call? Or why did you say this, right? We can be curious, right? Or we can just decide this doesn't mean anything and I love him, right? It does. You can decide to think he cares so much. You can decide that whatever had him do this doesn't mean anything about us and he still cares. There's so many options, right? So be mad for a while, get out of your system, then come back to this option. Remember, now I'm in your head. Now you can choose anything you want to choose to think and feel. So sometimes I ask myself, okay, how do I want to feel about this? And sometimes I think, okay, I just want to feel neutral about this. Like, I don't care, right? Everything's good. So I then think thoughts like, oh, everything's good. I don't care. This is fine, right? Sometimes I want to feel like we're so connected. And so I think, he must be really tired to not call, or he must be really busy to not call, right? Just an example. Or I wonder what kind of day he must be having to not reach out or something like that, right? I just try to really get into his shoes and see what's going on for him to act this way. And then I feel really connected. I'm like, oh, this poor guy, I love him. I want him to get rest, or he must be tired or whatever, right? Then I'm like all together with him. I'm all connected. And guess what? It's not because of what he did. It's because of what I'm choosing to think. Yeah. And when you practice just choosing to think something else, you're going to get really good at it. And then you can just choose to think anything else on demand for yourself anytime. So that's what I wish for you. Instead of thinking that he doesn't care is a fact, I want you to remember it's not a fact. It's simply a story you're telling yourself, a thought that you're choosing to think. Even if you are doing it unconsciously, now that you've listened to this, now that you have this awareness, you have consciousness around it. You have awareness around it. And now you can opt out of that thought. Now you can question it. Like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is not the truth. Maybe it's just a thought and I can simply not think it anymore. I want you to remember this. I want you to hear me in your head and don't take that as a fact. It is not true. In fact, most of the time, every single time that I've ever coached anyone or in my own life, this thought actually turned out to be completely false because he does care. It was totally the opposite. He does care. It's just that I chose to think this for some strange reason. And then I chose to withdraw from him. And then we had a little fight, right? So press pause on this when you feel yourself withdraw and see your own thought. What am I thinking that's having me withdraw from him? And do I want that? I don't really want that. I don't want to fight with him because usually, right, when you withdraw, there's some tension builds up. Then you might have an argument or a small fight or a big fight. It usually somehow has to dissolve itself, right? So it can dissolve itself simply in your own head and you can move on. And he can never even know that you ever even were mad at him, right? He can just be thinking, wow, my partner is so stable or my mom is so stable, she never gets mad at me, right? And that can happen in your own head if you're aware that it's just your thought, okay? All right, guys, if you ever need help connecting and getting rid of these thoughts like these, definitely come see me. You just have to get coached, clean up your brain, then you can create connection anytime for anyone, any him you want, okay? So my website is www.coachingnatalia.com. Just go to sign up for a free mini session and we'll talk. You can tell me all the things that annoy you about him and I will help you. By the way, if you love these episodes, please give me a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. It will help others find this podcast and get help. Just thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So I love you and have a good week. Bye.